rolled forward, and Baker stumbled back a step. Crap! I jumped from the casket platform. Don't! Too late. Death reached into Baker's pudgy torso, and the color leached from my client's face. He swayed. Death stepped back, and Baker blinked once more before crumpling. A scream rang from the corner of the room, followed by the clatter of chairs. The funeral director sprinted up the aisle, Baker's wife and teenage son behind him. His assistant, her eyes already glistening, fumbled a phone from her waistband. 911, she said, as Baker the third, and last remaining, pumped his father's chest. Poor kid. I crept away from the commotion. Giving the family space was all I could really do. Death had already collected the soul. There wasn't any way to revive Henry Baker now. Not that I was going to be the one to tell his family that fact. Death leaned against the far wall, his muscular arms crossed over his wide chest. He smiled, all devilish innocence, as his dark hair fell forward around his chin. I glared at him and scooped my purse from the floor. I couldn't fault him for collecting Baker's soul. After all, he had a job to do, but... You could have waited until I got paid. He shrugged. Didn't seem like he planned to pay you. True, maybe. The frantic huddle around Baker's body churned. This is going to be bad for business. I shoved my hand in my purse and fished along the bottom. I ignored the billfold. I knew it was empty. Under the tube of chalk for casting my circle, a ceramic ritual knife, my cell phone, and my license, I discovered 3 pennies, a dime, a crumpled foil wrapper, and a paper clip. Death glanced at the treasure spread over my palm. Planning on buying a gumball? Bus fare for the trip home. We both frowned at my palm. 13 cents wasn't going to cut it. But an emergency vet bill had wiped out everything I had. Until a job actually paid out, I was broke. Aren't you working the Amanda Holliday trial with the DA? Death asked. I dumped the change into my purse. The shade won't take the stand until tomorrow, and then I have to wait for the city or whoever to cut the check. I was giving the prosecution their star witness, because for once, being dead wasn't going to stop the victim from accusing her murderer. So far, the headlines were mixed on whether I was the voice of the silenced or the corrupter of the dead. But one thing was certain, it was big news. More important, as long as the defense didn't rip me apart, I might end up on Necro City's permanent payroll, instead of being just an occasional consultant for the police. Then I wouldn't have to deal with fortune hunters like Henry Baker. You staying for this? Death nodded toward Baker's body. Baker's son still pumped the dead man's chest, fighting to reclaim his father. But the new widow had abandoned hope. She clung to the funeral director, who steered her toward the seats in the front row. I didn't see the assistant. Yeah, I'm staying. I wouldn't want to be accused of fleeing the scene. Death shrugged, his black-clad shoulders lifting slightly. As they dropped again, he vanished. I hated when he did that. 1 minute here, the next gone. He'd turn up again. He always did. In my purse, Queen's Freddie Mercury belted out the line, "We will rock you," and I cringed. The widow's gaze snapped to me, her mascara-ringed eyes hard. Maybe not the best ringtone for the current situation. Turning away, I dug my phone out and glanced at the display. I didn't know the number. Let this be a job, not a bill collector. I flipped it open. You've reached Tongues for the Dead. This is Alex Kraft. Alexis? I pulled the phone away from my ear and frowned at the display. I still didn't know the number. Who would call me? Alexis, the female voice repeated. Are you there? I need your help. Casey? Her affirmative was a choked sob. My sister never called me. What was I supposed to